The church was packed. Cameras flashing, whispers echoing. Everyone came to say goodbye to Amelia Lancaster, the billionaire wife who fell down the stairs. Her husband, Lucas Bennet, stood by the casket, pretending to cry. But right before they closed the lid, a small voice broke the silence. "Mom's not dead." The crowd froze. The words came from Charlotte, Amelia's 9-year-old daughter. Her tiny hands shook as she pointed at the coffin. "She's still breathing," she cried. Lucas's fake tears stopped. His face turned pale. Reporters gasped, cameras turned, and in that one moment the truth began to unfold. Charlotte ran forward, yelling for help, while an old family cook, Isabella, rushed to the front. She'd known something was wrong since the accident. As chaos filled the church, Amelia's fingers moved, just enough for everyone to see. And that's where her story truly began. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. Amelia Lancaster had always believed love could fix anything. She grew up surrounded by everything money could buy: mansions, cars, private schools. But her father always told her one thing: money means nothing if your heart's not kind. That stuck with her. So even when she became a billionaire's daughter, she treated everyone like family. From the gardener to the driver, she smiled, remembered names, and never forgot birthdays. That's why when she met Lucas Bennet, she thought he was different. He wasn't rich, but he carried himself like someone who'd seen both sides of life. He was charming, good-looking, and knew exactly what to say. They met at a charity event her father sponsored. Lucas claimed he was a financial consultant helping small businesses recover from debt. Amelia admired that. She thought he understood struggle. He made her laugh. He opened doors, pulled out chairs, sent flowers. Just because. After years of watching men chase her for her last name, Lucas felt refreshing. When he finally asked her out, she didn't hesitate. Her father, Richard Lancaster, wasn't thrilled. Men like that don't chase love, Amelia. They chase power, he warned. But Amelia brushed it off. Dad, not everyone wants our money. Lucas is different. She believed that, until she didn't. They married within a year. The wedding was beautiful: roses, string lights, and a sunset that felt like a promise. Lucas played the perfect husband. He posted their photos online, kissed her forehead in public, and brought breakfast in bed. He even called her father, sir, and treated the staff with respect. Everyone thought Amelia had found her happy ending. Then, her father passed away suddenly. Heart attack, they said. The will left everything to Amelia: the company, the mansion, the investments. Lucas hugged her tightly that night, whispering, "You'll never have to face anything alone again." But something about the way he said it made her shiver. Soon after, the small signs began. Lucas started working late but never explained where he went. He locked his phone. He hired new people at the company, people Amelia didn't know, but they always listened to him more than her. When she asked questions, he'd smile and say, "You worry too much, babe. Let me handle the business side." Her instincts whispered something was off, but she kept convincing herself she was overthinking. Love makes people blind, and Amelia was no exception. Months passed, and the warm man she married started to change. He became colder, controlling. He'd comment on what she wore, who she talked to, even how much time she spent with Charlotte. "She's too spoiled," he'd say about their daughter. "She needs discipline." Amelia hated that word. One night, while checking some company files, Amelia found a draft email on Lucas's laptop. It was to a lawyer about a prenuptial amendment that would transfer all her assets to him in the event of death or mental incapacity. Her heart pounded so hard she thought she might faint. She confronted him the next morning, her voice shaking. "What is this?" she demanded, showing him the printed document. Lucas didn't flinch. He just smiled, that calm, practiced smile. "It's just a legal precaution, Amelia. You know how these things work." But she knew better. Her father had raised her in boardrooms. She understood contracts. And this one was a trap. That night, she called Isabella, the family cook who had worked for the Lancasters for 20 years. "If anything happens to me," Amelia whispered over the phone, "promise me you'll protect Charlotte." Isabella's voice trembled. "Don't talk like that, Miss Amelia. You'll be fine." But Amelia didn't feel fine. The next few days felt heavy. She avoided Lucas, but he seemed to sense her fear. He'd walk behind her silently, touch her shoulder suddenly, or whisper things like, "You know, accidents happen all the time." It got worse. One evening, while Amelia was putting Charlotte to bed, Lucas came into the room and kissed their daughter's forehead. Then he looked at Amelia, his eyes colder than ever, and said, "You should rest. You've been looking tired lately." Later that night, Amelia heard him talking on the phone in the study. She couldn't hear much, but she caught fragments. "Documents ready, funeral home, no delay." Her blood turned to ice. She decided to leave with Charlotte the next morning. She packed bags quietly, hiding them in the closet. But before she could go, Lucas appeared at the top of the stairs. "Going somewhere?" he asked, voice calm but deadly. "Lucas, please," she begged. "Don't do this." He stepped closer. "You should have just trusted me, Amelia. But you had to dig." And then, it happened too fast. He pushed her. She fell down the stairs, her world spinning before everything went dark. When she woke up, she wasn't awake at all. She could hear voices, feel tubes, sense people crying, but she couldn't move. She was trapped in her own body, aware of everything but helpless to scream. Lucas played the grieving husband perfectly. He told everyone it was an accident. He even held Charlotte, whispering lies into her ear. "Mommy's gone because she didn't listen," he'd say softly, shaping her memory to fit his story. But even as Amelia lay there, locked inside her own mind, she swore one thing: she wasn't done yet. Because deep down, she knew love might have blinded her. But her daughter's heart would open everyone's eyes. Days passed. Maybe weeks. Amelia couldn't tell anymore. Every sound came from far away, like she was underwater. Machines beeped beside her, nurses whispered, and footsteps echoed through the hospital hallway. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. But she could feel. She could hear. Lucas visited often, too often. Every time he entered the room, the air changed. He'd grab her limp hand, pretending to grieve while checking the monitors like he was keeping score. Sometimes, he'd lean close and whisper, "You should have stayed quiet, Amelia. But don't worry, I'll take care of everything." She wanted to scream. She wanted to claw her way out of that bed and tell the world what he'd done. But her body refused to listen. The doctors said she was in a coma. Lucas made sure they didn't try too hard to wake her. He paid for private care, claiming he wanted peace for his wife. What he really wanted was time to erase her completely. He told the world that Amelia wouldn't recover. He told Charlotte her mom had gone to heaven, even though the little girl swore she could still feel her mother's presence. "Daddy, she's not gone," Charlotte said one night, clutching her teddy bear. "She's still here. I can feel her hand when I sleep." Lucas forced a smile. "Sweetheart, sometimes our minds play tricks when we miss someone." But Charlotte wasn't convinced. Kids have instincts adults often lose, and hers were screaming that something wasn't right. Meanwhile, Isabella, the loyal family cook, had been watching closely. She noticed how Lucas always arrived at the hospital when no one else was around. How he spoke to the doctor in hushed tones. How he paid off a nurse who later disappeared. One day, she overheard him in the kitchen, talking on the phone. "I don't care what it costs," he said sharply. "Make it happen next week. I want her declared dead. No delays." Isabella froze, her hands trembling around the dish she was washing. She knew what that meant. Lucas wanted Amelia gone for good, officially dead on paper so he could claim her company and move on with whoever was on the other end of that call. That night, Isabella met with a lawyer, an old friend of Amelia's father. His name was Mr. Collins, a quiet man with a sharp mind and a loyal heart. If what you're saying is true, he told her, we'll need proof. Real proof. So, Isabella started digging. She got close to the hospital staff, bringing food, listening, pretending to care about gossip. Slowly, she pieced the truth together. Lucas had bribed a doctor to fake Amelia's death certificate once her machines were turned off. But fate stepped in before he could. Amelia's brain began to show small signs of recovery. A finger twitch. A faint change in breathing. The nurses noticed, but Lucas dismissed it. It's just reflex, he told them. She's gone. Yet Isabella refused to accept that. Every day, she came to the hospital, talking to Amelia softly as she wiped her face or brushed her hair. Miss Amelia, if you can hear me, blink twice, she whispered. And one afternoon, Amelia did. Isabella nearly dropped the towel. Oh my lord, she gasped. You're still here. Tears rolled down her face. She knew then, this wasn't over. Lucas, however, was preparing for his grand finale. He set up a private funeral, exclusive and dramatic, exactly what a grieving billionaire husband would do. He wanted the media attention, the sympathy, the image of a heartbroken man burying his wife too soon. He told everyone Amelia had died peacefully in her sleep. But Amelia hadn't died. She'd been moved to the family's private medical room at home, sedated heavily under Lucas's orders. He wanted her body there for the ceremony. Everything had to look real, the casket, the tears, the speech. On the morning of the funeral, Charlotte woke up crying. Mom's not gone, she whispered again, clutching Isabella's arm. She's cold, but she's not gone. Isabella held her close. Sweetheart, what do you mean? She said it in my dream, Charlotte whispered. She told me, don't let him close the box. Isabella's blood ran cold. She didn't know what to believe, but she knew this little girl's heart had never been wrong. Before the ceremony, Isabella called Mr. Collins. Something's not right, she told him. If we let this happen, he'll get away with it. Mr. Collins acted fast. He contacted the police and arranged for 2 undercover officers to attend the funeral, disguised as reporters. They were ready to move if something strange happened. And something very strange did. The service began in the big Lancaster mansion. Friends, employees, and reporters filled the room. Lucas stood by the casket, pretending to hold back tears. His new girlfriend, the woman from the phone call, sat quietly in the back, disguised as an assistant. Charlotte sat beside Isabella, her small hands folded, her lips trembling. When the pastor said, "It's time to close the casket," Charlotte suddenly stood up. Her eyes wide, her voice trembling, she said 3 words that froze the entire room. "Mom's not dead." People gasped. Cameras clicked. The pastor stopped mid-prayer. Lucas's face went pale. "Charlotte, honey, sit down," he said, forcing a laugh. But Charlotte didn't move. She ran up to the casket and shouted again, louder this time. "She's not dead!" Isabella rushed forward too, tears in her eyes. "Wait, check her pulse." The police officers moved in quietly, pretending to calm things down. But one of them reached for Amelia's wrist, and what he felt changed everything. There was a faint pulse. Weak, but real. Gasps filled the room. Lucas backed away, stuttering. "That's not possible, she. But before he could finish, the officers grabbed him. Mr. Collins stepped forward with documents and voice recordings Isabella had helped him gather. "Lucas Bennett, you're under arrest for attempted murder and fraud," he said firmly. And as they took Lucas away, Amelia's eyes fluttered, just for a second, but long enough for Charlotte to see. "Mom?" Charlotte whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. And for the first time in months, Amelia's lips moved ever so slightly. She smiled. Because love, real love, had brought her back. The sound of sirens echoed outside the Lancaster mansion as reporters swarmed the gates. The once perfect image of a grieving husband had shattered in front of the entire city. Lucas Bennett, still trying to look calm, was led away in handcuffs while cameras flashed like lightning. Inside, chaos turned into disbelief. Guests whispered, some crying, others recording on their phones. Charlotte clung to Isabella's dress, sobbing as paramedics rushed to the casket. They opened it carefully, and there she was, Amelia Lancaster, pale but alive. One of the medics shouted, "She's breathing!" and the room exploded with gasps and cries of joy. Charlotte broke free from Isabella's arms and ran straight to her mother's side. "Mommy!" she cried, grabbing Amelia's cold hand. "I told them you weren't gone!" Her small voice cracked, but Amelia's fingers twitched again, slow and weak, as if responding to her daughter's touch. Everyone saw it. The miracle was real. Amelia's eyelids fluttered, her breath shallow but steady. She was fighting, not just for her life, but for her daughter, for her truth, for justice. The paramedics wheeled her out, and Isabella followed close behind, refusing to let her out of sight. "You hold on, Miss Amelia," she whispered. "You hear me? You hold on." Hours later, the hospital buzzed with reporters outside, but inside, things were quiet. The doctors worked fast, stabilizing Amelia and reversing the sedation that had kept her paralyzed for weeks. Slowly, she woke up, dazed, confused, but aware. The first thing she saw when her eyes opened was Charlotte's face. Her daughter's eyes were red from crying, but her smile was bright. "Mom," Charlotte whispered. "You're okay now." Amelia's throat was dry. "Sweetheart, you saved me." Her voice was barely a whisper, but Charlotte heard every word. Isabella stood at the doorway, tears rolling down her cheeks. "We all did," she said softly. "But it was your little girl who never gave up." Amelia tried to smile, but the pain hit her like a wave. "Lucas?" she asked weakly. "He's gone," Isabella said firmly. "The police have him. Mr. Collins gave them everything. They have recordings, documents, even the money he wired to that fake doctor." Amelia closed her eyes. Relief mixed with heartbreak. The man she once loved had tried to bury her alive, and would have succeeded if not for the love of a child and the loyalty of a friend. Days later, when she regained strength, Amelia sat up in bed for the first time. The press outside called it the Miracle Widow's return. But Amelia didn't care about headlines. She just wanted peace. She called Isabella and Charlotte close and held their hands. "From now on," she said softly, "no more secrets. No more pretending. We live for love, real love, not lies." Charlotte nodded proudly. "Grandpa said kind hearts always win," she said. Amelia smiled through tears. He was right. When the trial began, Lucas tried to twist the story again. He told the court Amelia had gone crazy with paranoia and fell by accident. But the evidence said otherwise. The bank transfers, the recorded calls, the fake will, it was all there. The courtroom stayed silent as Isabella took the stand. She told everything: how she overheard Lucas, how she risked her job to gather proof, how she prayed every night that Amelia would wake up. By the time she finished, not a single person doubted who the real villain was. Lucas Bennett was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Months later, Amelia walked again. The scar on her head reminded her of how close she came to death, but it also reminded her of grace, of second chances. She returned to Lancaster Logistics, this time running it not for power or status, but to honor her father's lessons and to build something meaningful for her daughter's future. On Charlotte's 10th birthday, they held a small gathering at home. No reporters, no cameras, just love, laughter, and cake. Isabella sat beside them, smiling as Charlotte blew out her candles. "What did you wish for?" Amelia asked. Charlotte grinned. "That you'll never leave again." Amelia laughed softly. "That's one wish I can promise, baby." They hugged tightly, the kind of hug that heals years of fear and pain. Outside, the sun dipped low, painting the sky gold, the same color as the light that once shone through the church windows the day Charlotte stopped her mother's funeral. Weeks later, Amelia started a foundation in her father's name, the Lancaster Trust for Women and Children. Its first mission: to help families affected by domestic manipulation and financial abuse. She told her story publicly for the first time at the opening. Standing on stage, she spoke clearly. Love should never be a trap. If someone controls your life, your voice, or your freedom, that's not love, that's fear. And fear can't survive the truth. The audience applauded, but Amelia's eyes searched for one person, Charlotte. She sat in the front row, smiling proudly, holding Isabella's hand. And at that moment, Amelia knew she had already won. She had her daughter, her freedom, her life, and a story the world would never forget. Because sometimes, it doesn't take an army to bring back the truth. Just 3 brave words from a 9-year-old girl who refused to say goodbye. Moral of the story: love is strong, but truth is stronger. Amelia's story reminds us that no matter how dark things get, light always finds a way in, sometimes through the smallest voices. Charlotte's faith saved her mother because love, when pure, sees what the world ignores. If this story touched you, like this video, subscribe to King's Folklore, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters.